Hello, I'm Lionel Darondeau, and I'm very glad to give a talk at the Geometry and Topology of Almost Complex Structure seminar. I will speak about the Green-Griffiths-Long conjecture and some other results around it. And first of all, I would like to say that my talk somehow follows the talk of Benoît Cadorel and completes it. So if you plan to watch both videos, it would be a better idea to watch the video of Benoît Cadorel first. So let me first introduce the subject. We work in hyperbolicity in complex geometry. That is to say, for X, a complex projective variety, we want to study what we call entire curves. That is to say, non-constant entire holomorphic maps from C to X. And the question is the value distribution of such entire curves in X. So this is why we remove the constant maps for which we have no control, but for the other maps we hope to have a geometric control on the image. For instance, X will be said hyperbolic if there is no entire curves from C to X. So in this case we have a very strong control, the image is always constant. This is what gives a name to the subject, but it's a little strong, so we can weaken this notion, and we say that X is weakly hyperbolic if there exists a proper subvariety Z in X, which is independent of F, and for which, for any F entire curve from C to X, the image of F is contained in Z. So there is no curve that can go outside of Z. So immediately we see that hyperbolic implies weakly hyperbolic, and that weakly hyperbolic implies that there is no dense entire curve. So this is weaker because we could imagine that we have dense entire curves, but that if you take the union of the closure of these curves, you get the whole variety and not a proper subvariety. So I will not give examples because, for instance, Benoît gave already examples. The example of curves are very interesting. And I will immediately go to the guiding idea in the subject. The idea is that the positivity of the cotangent bundle omega x should determine the geometry of the entire curves. So I recall that we just saw the chain of implications. Hyperbolic gives weakly hyperbolic and implies no dense entire curve. And conjecturally, we have algebraic characterizations of these three geometries. So X should be hyperbolic if all its subvarieties including the singular ones, are of general type. X should be weakly hyperbolic if and only if X is of general type. And lastly, X should contain no dense entire curve if and only if X is not of special type. So this general type and special type are characterized by the number of sections and the number and the independence of sections of the exterior powers of the cotangent bundle. I will now define them. X smooth with dimension positive dimension n is of general type if and only if when you take the space of sections of the tensor powers of the top exterior power of omega x. So omega xn is what is called the canonical bundle. It's a line bundle. This the dimension of this space grows at the maximal rate, that is to say, as m to the power n. This is a positivity notion. And at the other extreme, we have a negativity property. X is of special type if for any rank 1 subshift L of the pth exterior power of the cotangent bundle, the dimension of the space of global section of the tensor power of L never grows at the maximal rate. So it will grow like m to the q for some q which is strictly smaller than p. So for instance, you immediately see that if you are of general type, you cannot be of special type, because you can take L, the canonical bundle, which is a line bundle in omega n. So these two notions, they come from the birational geometry when you want to classify projective varieties. And I will give now more detail. So the special type was defined by Campana. So a sheaf L in omega p to the x of rank 1, such that the dimension of the global sections of L to the m grows at the maximal rate m to the p, is called a Bogomolov sheaf. And morally, these Bogomolov sheaves, they correspond to the canonical bundles of varieties of general type of dimension p that are dominated by x. To make this precise, you need to work in the orbifold category of Campana, and to take, I will not define it, but you need to take into account the multiple fibers that will give some positivity on the base, some additional positivity on the base. And this idea can be made rigorous. It can be shown along this idea that X is of special type if and only if there is no dominant orbifold morphism to an orbifold pair of general type. And somehow this gives the idea of the proof of a very important theorem of Frédéric Campana, which is the existence of what he calls the core vibration. So if you have X a complex manifold, not orbifold, ordinary, projective manifold, then there exists a unique vibration C from X to another variety C of X, splitting X in its antithetical parts. The special part, which be the general fibers of the vibration, and a part of orbifold general type, which will be the orbifold base when you take into account the multiple fibers. So this is a very important result of classification. And now if you want to study X, or curves in X, you can use this core vibration to reduce the problem. So you will look at curves with value in X and compose these curves with the core vibration to look at curves with value in C of X. And here I have not defined what is really the orbifold category, but I will define the entire orbifold curves. So you take a projective manifold X, and then you take a boundary divisor, and for each component of this divisor you can assign a multiplicity, entire or even rational. And now when you look at curves in X, they don't have necessarily to avoid the boundary, but if they touch a component, they have to do it with contact order at least m. So, for instance, if you take m is infinity, this means that your curve has to avoid m. This is a so-called logarithmic case. But more generally, you can interpole between the case where there is no boundary and the case where you have to avoid the boundary. So you see that if you take a curve to X and then compose it with the core vibration, what you will get in C of X are orbifold curves where the boundary encodes the multiple fibers of the core vibration. So this also shows that to study hyperbolicity of projective manifolds, a priori you don't have orbifold structure on X. You need to extend the category to Campana's orbifold to understand at least the core of X. Okay. Now I am ready to give a conjectural description. So first there is the conjecture of Campana, which asserts that X is of special type if and only if there exists a dense entire curve in X with values in X. So therefore, for an arbitrary X, you can take not necessarily of general type. You can take the union of all special subvarieties, and the image of every entire curve should be contained in this locus. So if you look at the curve vibration, this gives you that when you are of general type, you are in this exceptional locus, which is not the whole X, and it refines the classical Green-Griffiths-Long conjecture by giving the exceptional locus in geometric terms. The other conjecture, which I would like to call Orbiford Green-Griffiths-Long, is that for an arbitrary X, there should exist a proper subvariety of the core of X, such that for any entire curve from C to X, either f of C is contained in a fiber of the core vibration. I remind that they are special, so they have to, if you believe in the first conjecture, they have to contain dense entire curves. And the other possibility is that f of C is contained in the pullback by the core vibration of Z. So here it's a refinement again of the classical Green-Griffiths-Long conjecture. So to recover the Green-Griffiths-Long conjecture, you have to assume here that X is of general type, and then the core vibration is trivial. So you just get that there is a proper subvariety in X containing the image of all entire curves. Okay, so the Green-Griffiths-Long conjecture of this these two refinements that I just explained is widely open in dimension at least 2, but there is a related conjecture on the hyperbolicity of projective hypersurfaces of high degree called the Kobayashi conjecture. And now I would like to explain why these two conjectures are related. So let us reformulate what we just said. X is supposed to be hyperbolic if and only if it does not contain any subvariety of special type, because it doesn't contain any entire curves, and entire curves are dense in subvarieties of special type. Or also, if and only if all subvariety of X are of general type. So this is a conjecture of Long, but using the core vibration, it corresponds to also the first way to formulate it. And in this direction, there is very interesting results of Clemens, Hein, Voisin, Pacienza, which have improved the theorem at each step, saying that the subvarieties of a general hypersurface X in Pn+1 with degree at least dn are all of general type, where you can take d1 is 4, dn is 2n+1 for n is 2, 3, 4, and then dn in general would be 2n for n larger than 5. So if you believe in Long's conjecture, you recover a precise statement of the Kobayashi conjecture, which is that a general hypersurface X in Pn+1 with degree d larger than dn, these bonds should be hyperbolic. And the Kobayashi conjecture was recently proven for effective degrees that are very high, exponential or doubly exponential. So there are several proofs, first of Brodbeck, then improved by Demailly, and also an alternative proof by Riedel-Yang based on work of Diverio, Merker, Rousseau. And this is the one I will speak about later in the talk. First, it's interesting to have an idea of how to prove the result of Hain, Voisin, Pazienza. So here you have hypersurfaces, so you have much you have a universal family of these Degrody hypersurfaces, which is parameterized by a projective space SD, and which fibers are the hypersurfaces in Pn+1 parameterized by so the coefficients in SD. So let's say the dimension of the universal family is ND plus N, where ND is the dimension of SD. The rough idea to produce section, so with not the optimal lower bound of the statement, but with the lower bound 2n plus 2. And so we will not show that the canonical bundle of the subvariety is big, but only that it is gives the idea to show how it is effective. So the idea is the following. You take the tangent space of the universal family X, and you have to show that its vertical part is positive. The vertical part corresponds to the projection to of X to Pn+1, so to the fibers. And namely, you can prove the global generation with some sections which pole order is very low, it's only 1 on Pn+1. So now you want to use this positivity to propagate the section of the canonical of X. So X is an hypersurface of relatively high degree. So it has a positive canonical bundle. And you use that if you take the n minus k exterior power of Tx and you twist it by the canonical of the fiber X, you can use the positivity of Kx to compensate the poles of the generator. So now you have lambda n minus k of Tx1, and you still have some positivity. You still have Ox of d minus 2n minus 2 plus k, and if you assume that d is at least 2n plus 2, then this is still positive. So the vertical part is still globally generated, and on the other hand, this tensor power, it is the same as the nd plus k exterior power of the cotangent bundle of the universal family. So now if you take y in X a smooth family of subvarieties of dimension k of X, you can use the projection from the cotangent bundle of the family X to the cotangent bundle of the family Y. And here, since the normal bundle of a fiber is trivial, you recover the canonical bundle of Y. So now you use the global generation to conclude that the image at the level of the zero, the H0 cohomology groups is not 0, and this gives you the section that you are looking for. Then there is more detail to give, of course, and then to improve the bond, the idea of Voisin is to look at not the lambda n minus k of Tx1, but the lambda n minus k minus 2 of Tx1 twisted by lambda 2 of Tx1. So here you see that you win, you gain 1. And then for Pazienza, the same kind of idea, you have to twist by lambda 4 of Tx2, which is better than lambda 4 of Tx4. And this is how you get to 2n. But then you don't have any more the global generation, and you have to be more subtle. So this is a very rough idea, but we will see similar ideas appearing in the talk later. Now I want to go to jet differentials. They were already introduced by Benoit. So they will be the tools to obtain algebraic degeneracy of curves. So J differential of order k is an algebraic differential operator in the local Taylor expansions of at order k of curves with holomorphic coefficients. Then you can define the Green-Griffiths bundle EKM of omega x of order k in weight m on a manifold X as the vector bundle which sections are jet differentials omega of weight m under the reparametrization at the source by homothésis. That is to say that if you take the dilatation of ratio lambda on C star and you see how it acts on k jets, you apply omega, then you will get lambda to the m omega of fk. Sorry for the misprint. Another way to say it is that in local coordinates, the number of prime in all monomials will be m. And there is a graded bundle associated to this Green-Griffiths bundle. So to obtain it, you take a multifiltration of EKM omega x by vector subbundles defined by the weight of the highest derivatives. So first you make the filtration by the derivatives of order k, then k minus 1, etc. And the associated graded bundle is I denote by lambda km of omega x. It is the sum for L1 plus 2L2 plus KLK is m of a product of symmetric powers of the cotangent bundle. So SL1 omega x times SL2 omega x times SLK omega x. So this result, it follows from the triangularity in the Faddy-Bruno formula. If you take f and then you look at reparametrization at the goal, you will see that phi composed with f derived k times, it's phi prime times f derives k times plus some terms, lower order terms. And of course, the transition function phi prime, it doesn't depend on k. So this somehow tells you that the k's derivative, they behave like f prime modulo the lower order derivatives. So this is the main idea. So now we have the Euler characteristic, which is the dimension of H0 minus dimension of H1 plus dimension of H2, etc. And it is easy to see that the Euler characteristic of EKM is the same as the Euler characteristic of its graded bundle, lambda km. But actually, we can be more subtle. So we can introduce the truncated Euler characteristic K1, which is H0 minus H1. And now you see that H0 of lambda km is larger than, it's at least equal to H0 of EKM, which is at least equal to K1 of EKM, which is at least equal to K1 of lambda km. So if you forget the K1 of EKM, you get that the H0 of EKM, so the number of sections, it's bounded by H0 of lambda km from above, and by K1 of lambda km from below. So somehow you can study the graded bundle and still get information on the much more complicated bundle itself. So the idea I just recall to get the result on it's a result on graded bundles actually. So you take a short exact sequence of vector bundles 0 in S, in E, in Q, in 0, and you will get a long exact sequence in cohomology with connecting maps di going from hi minus 1 of Q to hi of S. And then you can truncate the long exact sequence in cohomology, and you have that the sum of the alternate sum of the dimensions is equal to 0, which means that the rank of delta 1 is H0 of the graded bundle S plus Q minus H0 of E, and this is positive. And in the other hand, the rank of T2 is K1 of E minus K1 of S plus Q, and this one also is positive. So this gives the bonds. So now we are ready to give Demailly's existence theorem. It states that if X is of general type, we are not yet able to prove the Green-Griffiths-Long conjecture for F, but at least we are able to prove the algebraic degeneracy of jets of entire curves with value in X. So precisely, if X is of general type, there exist global jet differentials vanishing on some ample divisor, and using a vanishing theorem of Hsu and Demailly, this gives that the jets of entire curves F from C to X are all algebraically degenerate in a strong sense, meaning that the locus containing all the jets, the image of jets of entire curves, does not depend on F. So the idea to prove this very nice result is to use Demailly's holomorphic Morse inequalities for the truncated Euler characteristic on the graduation of the Green-Griffiths bundle. And then the observations that we just made gives you that you get a lot of sections of the bundle itself. Another remark is that the converse is also true. So this is a result of Campana and Peun. It's a corollary of a result of Campana and Peun. And the last remark is that for hypersurfaces of projective spaces, just before Demailly's result, Merker proved the same result, but his approach is quite different. He's using that H0 is larger than K minus H2 minus H4 minus H6, etc. He used the Pierry rule to express the product of the symmetric powers in terms of Shor powers, and then in his more particular setting is able to study the Shor powers. Okay, so now I want to speak about an application of these jet differential techniques, namely a proof of the Green-Griffiths-Long conjecture, but for generic projective hypersurfaces of high degree. So we take X now, an hypersurface of degree D in Pn plus 1, and here we have much more control on the positivity than general type. We have a precise expression of the canonical bundle as O D minus n plus 2, and so we can control precisely the positivity of the canonical bundle and strengthen the general type assumption by taking D very large. And this leads in 2010 to the first confirmation of the Green-Griffiths-Long conjecture in all dimensions. The result is that the Green-Griffiths-Long conjecture is satisfied by generic hypersurfaces in Pn plus 1 with degree D extremely large, 2 to the n to the 5. And also the hypersurfaces, they are more than of general type, but also generic. This means that in the parameter space of hypersurfaces, you have to remove some proper subvariety. So it follows a result in small dimensions. I don't know, I will not give all the names, but Hsu, Peun, Rousseau, McQuillan. And this result, it uses also holomorphic or algebraic Morse inequalities developed by Demailly and then Demailly-Trapani. But it uses and then it is able to give the existence of sections using these Morse inequalities. This follows also from a work of Diverio that he did before. And this has to be seen in a contrast with what was done for small dimensions, where people use the wall Euler characteristic, so they had to use it mainly for surfaces, and then to use vanishing theorems for H2. So this is a very important technical aspect of the proof. And also the lower bound was improved afterwards, but is still very large. So I want to give an idea of the strategy of proof to show you where to use jet differentials. So the first step is to produce algebraic differential equations satisfied by all entire curves. So that is to say, you will get some polynomials with coefficients ai of f, which are holomorphic, and then monomials are the derivatives of f. And this gives you algebraic degeneracy of the jet. So in some space that I denote OPK of M, where f lifts by its jet, you will get a base locus that is in brown here. And now you have the algebraic degeneracy upstairs, and you want to deduce the algebraic degeneracy downstairs. So you have to control the projection on X of the base locus. The only thing that you can say a priori is that if in the fiber of the green point X2 there is no base locus, it's empty, then the curve cannot pass through X, because its lift cannot be in the fiber. In the contrary, if the base locus is non-empty, then the curve could be there. So this will give you the projection of the base locus up there, which is the bad locus Z. And the question is to prove that Z is not the wall X, which is far from obvious, because the relative dimension of the jet space is generally much bigger than the dimension of X. So there is no reason that the base locus will not project onto X. At least no dimensional reasons. So in the case of hypersurfaces in Pn, we can use something similar to the variational method of Hein, Voisin, and Pacienza, which was introduced by Hsu and is called slanted vector fields. So the idea is to consider again this time the jets. So first we consider the hypersurfaces in family, and then we can also consider the jets of this family, which also gives a family called the vertical jets. And now, if you are able to find a vector field that is tangent to this green family upstairs, but it could go in the direction of the base, so this is what is called slanted. And if you have one differential, jet differential, sorry, you will be able to derivate it to propagate and produce a lot of jet differentials around your fiber. So this is the idea, and more concretely, it means that using first, sorry, I have to say that since the parameter space is a projective space, this tangent space has a lot of positivity, and this suffices to prove that the tangent space of the green family there is globally generated. So morally, I will go back one. Morally, this means that you are able to differentiate along each derivative of f. They have to be seen as variables here in the jet spaces. So you can use Taylor formula, and now you are able to isolate the coefficient of p, ai of f. So the price to pay is that each time you will use a vector field to differentiate, you have to take into account its pole. but they are low order poles, and so you are able to still get that the coefficients of P itself vanishes on an ample divisor. And then this means that the corresponding differential equation has to be satisfied. But this differential equation, it is actually an algebraic equation. So here I have made the picture. Before you only knew that the curve, it avoided the points where the fiber was empty. But now you want that all the coefficients of P vanish. So this means that P vanishes completely identically in the fiber. So you can say that your curve, it can pass only through points where the whole fiber is the base locus. So this means that you look at the base locus of the direct image of the jet differentials instead of looking at the projection of the base locus upstairs, which is much smaller. And you can even prove that it is codimension 2, actually, in X. So this is the basic idea. I'm a bit rough in all the proofs. And now we go back to the Kobayashi conjecture. So it's a result of Friedel-Young that somehow the Green-Griffiths-Long conjecture implies the Kobayashi conjecture. Precisely. So you take an ample line bundle on X, and you can define the Green-Griffiths locus GGK of X as the projection to X of the base locuses, loci, the intersection of the base loci that we just described. And the crucial observation is that this bad locus is stable by hyperplane sections. Namely, if you take an hyperplane section X cap H in X, and if omega is the jet differentials of order K on the hyperplane section, and D a K jet through the point X in X, then it is the same to project the K jet to the hyperplane section and then evaluate omega, or first to pull back omega to X and then evaluate on D. So below I have put an example. Like morally, you are just saying that if you have dz1 and d over dz1, it is the same to cancel the coefficient of d over dz1 or to cancel the coefficient of dz1. Okay, so then you have to do this for higher order jet differentials, but this is a basic idea. But this says something. This says that for a point X in the hyperplane section, if XD is in the intersection of the base locus, so this means that sorry, did I maybe I did wrong. So if it's in X, not in X cap H, sorry. So if all jet differential vanishes on XD, in particular the pullback of omega vanishes. But this means that the projection of D, for the projection of D, all jet differentials have to vanish. So you take oh yes, that's why I take X in X cap H, sorry. So you take X in the hyperplane section. Let me do it again. Then if for a K-jet differential of X, all jet differential vanishes, this means that in particular all the pullback vanish. So for the projection of the jet differential to H, in particular by the equality above, all jet differential vanish. so the base locus is stable in this precise sense by hyperplane sections. And from this basic observation, Riddle and Young, using precise incidence arguments, they derive the following theorem. If the base locus is of codimension 1 for generic hypersurfaces, then it has to be of codimension in Pn plus C. It has to be of codimension C for very generic hypersurfaces in Pn plus 1. So you see that to get C is n plus 1, which means that you get only constant anterior maps, anterior curves. Instead of C equal 1, it's sufficient to double the dimension in the effective band for the Green-Griffiths-Long conjecture. So for instance, if you dream a little and you imagine that you would have the boundary, optimal boundary of general type, Dn is n plus 3. I begin to be tired. Then you would get the very good lower bound 2n plus 3, which is almost optimal with regards to the results of Clémence Hain-Voisin and Pacienza. Okay, so that's all what I wanted to say, and I'm eager to see your questions and to speak with you.